Today we're looking at a perhaps lesser known business theory, but one that makes a really important point that business leaders and strategists need to think about. And it's called Goodhart's Law. Now, the principle is surprisingly simple. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. Now, at first glance, that might sound a little bit abstract, but once you actually understand it, you'll start seeing it everywhere. The concept actually comes from British economist Charles Goodhart back in the 1970s, who noticed that when people are judged by a particular metric, they almost always begin optimizing for the metric itself rather than the underlying goal. And that's where problems begin. Now, imagine a customer service department. Management wants to improve efficiency, so they introduce a new target. Every call should last less than 3 minutes. Now, at first, this seems perfectly reasonable. Shorter calls mean more customers served, lower costs, and improved productivity. But then something unexpected happens. Agents start rushing customers off the phone. Complex problems aren't fully resolved. Customers have to keep calling back repeatedly because their issue wasn't actually fixed. The metric improved, so our staff are doing exactly what we told them to do and make the call shorter. But the service has got worse because we've told staff to just focus on speed. So the organisation was measuring call length, but what it really wanted was customer satisfaction. The target we set our employees has basically replaced the objective that we were really aiming for. And that's Goodhart's Law in action. Now, unfortunately, the same thing happens in almost every organisation. Let's say a company rewards employees purely on the number of new customers acquired. Well, predictably, salespeople are going to focus on acquisition of new customers at all costs. So discounts increase, low quality customers are signed up, existing customers don't get any attention. Now, the acquisition numbers will look fantastic, but at the same time, profitability will decline. So once again, the target becomes the mission. We told staff to focus on acquiring new customers, thinking it would boost our profits, but acquiring new customers has become their new entire mission in life. Now, what's fascinating is that Goodhart's Law doesn't happen because people are dishonest, or not usually anyway. Most people are simply responding logically to the incentives that they've been given. So if your promotions and your bonuses and your recognition all depend on a particular number, then that number becomes your focus. The issue isn't usually the people. The issue is the measurement system. So how can leaders avoid this trap? The first step is to remember that metrics are indicators, not objectives. A metric is a speedometer or a fuel gauge in your car. It's not the destination you're heading to. The speedometer can't be the entire focus of your journey, or you'll run out of fuel or you'll crash into another car while you're watching it. So we need to make sure we don't lose sight of our overall mission and what we're ultimately trying to accomplish. To help with this, it's best to use multiple measures wherever possible. So if you're assessing customer service, don't just measure call duration, measure customer satisfaction as well. If you're evaluating recruitment, don't just measure hiring speed, look at retention and performance after 6 months of the people that you've hired. The final thing that managers and strategic planners need to be aware of is that you need to pay attention to unintended consequences. Whenever a new target is introduced, ask yourself a simple question. If everyone in my business focused solely on maximizing that target, that number, what behaviours might emerge? Your employees are going to focus, quite naturally, all of their time and energy on meeting the targets that you set them. Is that a good thing, or is it going to cause problems? Thinking about that when you set up new targets for your staff can prevent endless mistakes. Now, the lesson of Goodhart's Law isn't that measurement is bad. Measurement is essential in business. The lesson is that metrics are just tools. The moment that people begin chasing the metric itself, the metric stops telling you what you need to know. So the next time someone proudly announces that a target number has improved, ask them one simple question. Has the outcome improved too? Is the company closer to achieving its overall mission? Something to think about. If you'd like to know more about the world of business strategy, drop me a like and a follow.